nudge my head to clearer thinking.
My heart to greater loyalty.
My hands to larger service.
And my health to better living. For my club,
My community.
my country, and
My world. So why is WSU here this week?
You know, this is what we call Seattle Week. It's our occasion as a university to extend ourselves to the greater Seattle area by bringing many of our scientists and researchers and students who are associated with 4-H here.
We're here today at Benaroya Hall celebrating the bounty of Washington State, and of course part of that bounty is our marvelous 4-H members.
What really excites me about this event is that at every exhibit there is a community partner.
I'm an industry partner with WSU, very interested in all the microbial research and especially the work of Lynn Carpenter-Boggs. I work with the BioAg program, which stands for Biologically Intensive Agriculture and Organic Farming. As part of BioAg, we do a lot of work with research and extension on compost and composting.
My bachelor's degree from WSU was in animal science, and I had a minor in soil science, and I took Lynn's class in composting and compost management. And for her class, I wrote a paper about mortality composting. I was very interested in it. I'd never heard of it before. I thought it went well with animal science. And I recently finished a master's in soil science at Washington State University, and my thesis work was on farm mortality composting. I worked with a variety of dairies around the state and some feedlots and beef operations to promote on-farm mortality composting as an economically viable and environmentally sound method of mortality disposal for farmers.
Caitlin, as she grew up, she spent a lot of time on ranches and really got to know a couple of farmers very well, and I think got interested in doing this because she saw how valuable it could be to those producers.
Entrepreneurship is not new in the 4-H program. In fact, it's one of our earliest beginnings. A young person taking an animal, raising it, selling it, and in fact financing their college education have been part of 106 years of 4-H tradition. But entrepreneurship takes on a new meaning here at Benaroya Hall when we start talking about the Big Quill Oyster Project. Who thought that 4-Hers would be involved in seafood cultivation and even serving seafood today?
This is 3 years, and I think every year it's gotten a little bit bigger and a little bit better.
So could you tell us a little bit about the WSU Veterinary School?
Sure, I'll be glad to talk about that. You know, we have one of the leading veterinary medicine colleges in the country. We have fabulous researchers and scientists associated with it. And we have made the decision to create what we call a School of Global Animal Health. Some 70% of the diseases that we have to endure as humans actually originate from animals, believe it or not. It's called zoonotic diseases. And we believe that our researchers can make a significant difference in eradicating many of those illnesses. Further, it is a wonderful program in which we can collaborate with the University of Washington. You see, they have a School of Human Medicine, and with our School of Animal Medicine, those two teams really can make a huge difference. I'm convinced that if we do this appropriately, we can become the centers of disease control for the state of Washington. And so when people have illnesses, they will then come to the state of Washington, either at Washington State University or the University of Washington, seeking new discoveries and new treatments. So I'm really excited about it.
Cool, thank you.
What we aim to do in our diabetes program throughout Washington State is to get people involved in, number one, knowing and understanding what diabetes is, the complications that can take place if one goes untreated. The other thing that is extremely important as food intake, is physical movement. And the person who can help us understand that importance is Willie Austin of Now is Fitness.
Well, we really feel that our purpose is promoting health and wellness to youth and families throughout the community, throughout King County, and throughout Washington State, hoping that Washington State can someday become the healthiest state in the country. And Our work has to do with, promoting aerobic conditioning, endurance, strength, with strength training, flexibility, nutrition, and also youth development.
I spend essentially all of my time working with the food industries in the state of Washington, as well as beyond that. We work with packers, processors, to help them find better ways to market their products. Also spend a great deal of time with food safety issues. I grew up on a dairy farm, knew nothing but milking cows, and then was set to go off to college when my father abruptly left the farm. That particular year, the only thing I could find as a summer job was working in a cannery. I made a career out of it. That's now, I started in the industry, working in the industry 49 years ago.
Food science is an excellent major because it has more job opportunities than there are graduates, and it's an excellent opportunity to take science principles and apply them to a really fun medium, which is food. And so there's a lot of great opportunities in food science, and I'd encourage 4-Hers and young people to consider it as a major.
I am an assistant professor of horticultural genomics and biotechnology based in Pullman campus. And I work on apples, pears, cherries, and grapes. What we are trying to do in our lab is try to understand the genomic blueprint of apples to begin with, and that information will finally translate to pears, cherries, and also grapes. In my program, I have 3 students from the local high school, a high school teacher, working and learning these new techniques. And also I have about 9 undergraduate students coming from different disciplines like viticulture, civil engineering, physicists, neuroscience people, because they are getting hands-on training on the latest technologies. The biggest thing about plants is they stick to their ground and they fight whatever comes to them. So, the whole saying, fight like a man, it should not be like that. It's put up a fight like a plant.
Kevin, can you tell us a bit about the 4-H Adventure Education Club?
Sure. We've got clubs across the state, in all corners of the state. We do a lot of different things. One thing we do is flat water canoeing. We also do a lot of forestry education. We also have a lot of ropes courses, and I think Tim Wood will be able to explain that. He's one of our community partners and works with the Waskowitz Outdoor Education Center.
As we do backcountry skiing as a culminating experience for our students. We do a lot of field ecology, habitat restoration. We do a research project, water quality studies on the Green River, and also we do forest plot studies up in the forest. So our students learn experientially in many different ways, and it's the WSU 4-H adventure programming that provides a structure for experiential learning and makes it able for us to do all this stuff.
This has been Jason Brewer with 4-H Network News.
And I'm an assistant professor at Washington State University in the Department of Animal Sciences. And my work is on genetics, and I'm a molecular geneticist. And so what I do is I look at the molecular characteristics of cattle to try to select for cattle that are healthier or provide a better product as a food product for people to consume. The animals that we're displaying here are Wagyu cattle. Wagyu come from Japan, and they only imported 184 black Wagyu animals to the United States. And of those animals, we wanted to characterize how related they were so that when we breed those animals, we can try to select lines that are less related to optimize their health. Also, what's really exciting about Wagyu is that they have really healthy meat, and it's very flavorful and tender. So if we look at the meat over there, you can see that it has lots of white marbling in it, and it has a higher level of monounsaturated fat than what we typically see, which makes it more healthy. So this is a great meat to cross with other breeds of animals, as well as selecting it solely as a Wagyu breed. And this could provide great economic impact to the state of Washington, as Snake River Farms, who have have partnered with us in this research are the leading producers of Wagyu beef for a retail market in the United States.
I'm with Washington State University Extension, and I'm based out of Pasco, Washington. A few years ago, I was contacted by Steve Price, a grower in Basin City, who had peanuts planted and he originally started growing peanuts in the basin to see if he could produce a biofuel crop. It was at a time when he went to a fuel station, there was no diesel for his tractor. So that scared him as a farmer, and he decided he wanted to try to do something about it. So he had these peanuts planted. He had 25 acres of peanuts planted in Basin City, and I went out and tried to help him assess the yield on that crop. This is our third year of studying peanuts. We've done variety testing, we've worked with herbicides, and we're trying to learn how to grow peanuts in the Pacific Northwest. It's not a crop typically grown in the Pacific Northwest, so there's a few things to learn. There's also a grower, Hilario Alvarez, in the Mabton area, who's been growing peanuts for the last 20 years. And he grows organic peanuts. And the difference between Hilario's peanuts and Steve Price's peanuts are Hilario transplants his peanuts to try to get them off to an earlier start. They're a warm season crop and they need a lot of heat to grow. So he starts them in the greenhouse and then transplants them into the field, where Steve and I have been direct seeding the peanuts. And as you'll see, these peanuts are quite a bit further behind than Hilario's because they just haven't had the heat units. They've been in the soil, and we had a relatively cool spring. They require very little nitrogen because they're a legume crop, and legumes fix their own nitrogen. And if you see these little nodules here, that's where the plant has formed a symbiotic relationship and is fixing its own nitrogen. So that's a big benefit to growing peanuts. There's very little nitrogen involved in growing the crop.
The state had passed new laws encouraging oil production, and I had remembered as a kid people growing peanuts in the Columbia Basin. So we've been trying to figure out how to grow them, and I thought my experience in dry edible beans would be a real plus in peanut production. But I soon learned that everything that I knew about beans didn't apply to peanuts. And so over the last 3 years, we've been experimenting with varieties and with quite a bit of success.
We also will have presentations by members of the faculty to key community groups. I'll also meet with a lot of donors and other supporters of the university. And of course, we will end with a football game.
Goodbye from 4-H Network News.